What's up, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Gimme presented by BetMGM. Why the Gimme? You guys know why? Because it's good this week. The Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba. New name, same old tournament that we've known for a long time, although maybe a bit improved. 9 of the top 25 in the official World Golf Ranking are on site this week, which should make it a pretty strong fall event. I'm Jason Sobel. She's Amanda Rose. He's Justin Ray from the 21st group. As always, joining me. And coming up, the usual stuff, our perfect portfolios. We're going to make a DFS lineup, give you our favorite first round leader plays. And yes, there's a first round leader contest for you guys as well. Go to Twitter at GolfBet and you have a chance to pick the first round leader and potentially win a nice little prize. And as always, guys, we've got our own prop, the Gimme prop at BetMGM. We have boosted the odds on Viktor Hovland or Tony Finau, either one of them. Doesn't have to be both. Either one, top 5 this week, plus 200, 2-1. Amanda, you buying?
No. No, I don't think so.
Analysis. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to buy it. Tony Finau's got 3 top 20 finishes and 5 starts here, tied for 8th last year. Viktor Hovland, the defending champion. I think it's a nice little boost. I think I'll take that one.
I would have, but I listened to Viktor Hovland's words in his interview session from Mayakoba today, and he doesn't sound quite there. You know, the guy that once said, "I suck at chipping." Granted, he said it during a week in which he won on the PGA Tour, but it sounds like he's still trying to figure his way out around the greens. And so essentially I look at this and say, I don't like Hovland. If I made this bet, it's just a bet on Finau, and I could probably get better odds on Finau alone for a top 5 instead of putting him with Viktor Hovland. So
I will say,
bypass. Yes.
Viktor Hovland does suck less statistically around the greens. I can confirm.
That was the point he was trying to make. And it was a question. Hey, what's the state of your game? And the answer was, I'm actually getting better at chipping. I've improved a little bit. It was like, whoa, like no one accused you of anything, Viktor. I get it. Yes, you're right. And Justin, you're right as well. But it was very much like, hey, stay away. I've actually gotten better. No one said he wasn't.
PGAtour.com breakdown of Viktor Hovland went up yesterday that I wrote. Go check it out.
Will do.
Shameless plug.
Shameful. Let's take a look at the top of the board at BetMGM. Justin Thomas is your favorite this week for good reason. You know why? Because he's really good at golf. He is 12-1, although he's still searching for his first victory in, what are we going on now? 8 months since the Players Championship. Abraham
so
Answer.
Long.
Yeah. Well, hey, for a guy like that, for a top 5 player like Justin Thomas, it's a long time. Abraham Answer at 16-1. He has moved. Abraham Answer came into the week with a bigger number. A lot of people on Abe this week. And yes, I think we're going to be talking about him a lot on the show today. Viktor Hovland also at 16-1, of course, the defending champion here. Tony Finau, 25-1. That seems like a pretty good number on Tony. Aaron Wise, interestingly enough, getting into that top 6 at 30-1. Also at 30, Billy Horschel with a nice record at Mayakoba as well. Let's get to our perfect portfolios. You can see the record up last week.
It's all right. It was a weird.
We're on to Mexico.
The weather lied to us.
Bermuda Triangle. That's where our picks got lost.
Bad shorts.
Those two.
Yeah.
I always love their Olympic outfits. Like when they come in with like the blazers and the hats and just the shorts. It's great.
I'm gonna move on because I want to get past this graphic that has our picks from last week on it. We need to get on to the other things. All right, Amanda, give me your perfect portfolio for this week.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna give you guys 3 top 10s and a top 20. Let's start with Brian Harman. He hasn't really done too much in the last few months, but he did have a good finish. Like he finished his season well. He's coming into this season pretty well. He had his best finish at this event last year. He's had some time off since the CJ Cup, so he's had some time to relax, kind of decompress, and I think his game is looking really good coming into this week. Viktor Hovland, who we've mentioned, now I don't like him for a top 5, but I do like him for a top 10. And as you mentioned, Justin, around the greens, Viktor Hovland's putting is usually an issue. But he actually gained 5.5 strokes on the field at the CJ Cup in his last start. So I think that's really promising, especially coming into a place where he won, a year ago, he won here. So obviously he putted well. So I like him a lot this week. Neiman's going to round out my top 10 picks. He hasn't really done anything too impressive since July, but he has been really consistent and he hasn't been missing putts. And I think he's really, really close to showing us like that elite play that he showed us for, a while, 2 years ago, a year ago. So I really like him. And I'm going to finish off with Russell Knox. He had a great week last week, tied for 12th in Bermuda. He struck the ball incredibly. I think he's still really undervalued this week. I think I saw him on DraftKings the first day of like the first 30 minutes of the odds being out. He was like 100-1. It was insane. So I was like, you know what? I like this guy. I think top 20 is a pretty safe play for him this week. I like what he's doing. I like his game right now. So I think Russell Knox is also going to do something exciting.
I can't wait until Victor Hovland finishes in a share of 8th place this week. And you're going to sound so brilliant, Amanda, that I don't like him for a top 5, but yeah, love him for a top 10 this week. I love that you're splitting hairs and it's so precise and exact that you have it nailed down exactly where he's going to finish on the leaderboard. Guys, I have asked my good friend Justin Ray to figure out a statistical metric for strokes gained motivation. So far, I don't know, I'm busy doing this. I got the podcast with you. We got to do the give. Hasn't done it yet. That said, I've got my own things in mind. What? You're going to make an excuse?
Are you going to throw me? Can keep throwing me under the bus for not making up a metric for you?
Come on. I don't know. Sounds easy. What else do you do with your days? I thought you just make up strokes gained metrics.
Yeah, I'm just making all this stuff up.
That's why his company's in England, because it's like kind of some shady stuff. Can't do it like here in the US or like overseas.
They're on to me.
They're on to you in the pounds, man.
I've got my own strokes gained motivation that I look at, not necessarily a number, but there are certain players that this time of year, I think they're a little more motivated, hungrier. And it's some of these players who haven't quite gotten the results that maybe they deserve. Guys who have had a really good year, but don't have a win, don't have a couple of top finishes to show for it. Shane Lowry has finished in the top 3, has at least one finish in the top 3 in an official World Golf Rankings sanctioned event since 2010. He doesn't in 2021. Best finish was a share of 4th place at the PGA Championship. That said, he's been one of the best ball strikers in the world since the beginning part of the summer. So I really like hitting Shane Lowry all over the place this week. I like him for outrights, like him top 5, but I will play him top 10 right here at 4-1. Moving on, Abraham Answer. Look, I said earlier, everyone's on Abe this week. I am along with them. He's played this event 4 times, 21st or better in each of those times. Wouldn't surprise anybody to see him in contention again this week, plus 175 for a top 10. Another guy, much like Lowry, that I think hasn't quite gotten what he maybe deserves. Deserves might not be the right word for it, but what he could have gotten out of his game this year, because statistically he's been very, very good, especially ball striking. Russell Henley. I'll go top 20 for Russell Henley, who I think is very motivated by not only, hey, a chance to go out there and finally win again, first time in 4 years, but I believe that at 56th in the world ranking, maybe that number 50 is lingering right there, trying to get into the Masters and other major championships before the year is over. And then Matthew Wolff is back, guys. I firmly believe after a very tough year, both on and off the golf course for Matt Wolff, that he's back to playing some really good golf, runner-up in his last start at the Shriners. I've got him for a top 20 as well. Jay Ray.
So, Jason, we've talked a lot about Abraham Answer. I'm going to keep the momentum going. He's got 4 straight finishes of 21st or better in this golf tournament. That includes 9 rounds of 67 or lower during that span. Tied for 12th last year, ranked 2nd in score to par cumulatively over the last 3 years at Mayakoba. He's been moving up towards the top of the board, getting closer to that Justin Thomas favorite number. I like him a lot this week. Finished tied for 14th place in his previous start at the CJ Cup. I've got Abraham Answer for a top 10 finish. Another guy, Billy Horschel, playing some really good golf the last several months. 4 top 25 finishes and 6 career starts here. He's finished 8th and 5th the last 2 years. Combined 43 under par in this tournament the last 3 years. Best of any player. I mentioned that Answer is second. Billy Horschel is first. It's just his second start since winning at Wentworth, one of the biggest wins of his career. That was right before the Ryder Cup was held. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised if he won this week. I've got him for a top 10. I would not be scared for an outright ticket for Billy Horschel. Another guy kind of in that Russell Henley vein, a really good iron player, a little bit further down the board. I've got Emiliano Grillo to finish in the top 20. 5 career starts in this event, 4 top 15 finishes. He ranks 3rd all-time in scoring average in this tournament among players with at least 8 rounds, averages more than 5 birdies or better in this event in his career. I've got Grillo to top 20. And then another guy I love. I think this is a week where you can go down the board and find some really good course horse values. And this guy is a prime example of this. Bryce Garnett. I've got him for a top 20. Six straight made cuts in this event, includes 3 top 10 finishes. Since 2015, he ranks first in cumulative score to par in this event, tied for first in rounds in the 60s, tied for first in rounds of 67 or better. I think he is a tremendous value way down the board. Not too many people are going to have him. Great for a DFS play, and I've got him for a top 20 finish, Jason.
He is one of those guys, along with some others in this field, that tend to play well in these shorter coastal golf courses, maybe a little wind blowing through, some warm breezes at Mayakoba this week. All right. Speaking of Mayakoba, host venue this week, El Camaleon, just about 7,000 yards on the scorecard, par 71. The last 8 times this event has been held here, the winning score has been 17 under at least. And 5 of the last 8, it's been 20 under. So moral of the story, don't make bogeys and make lots of birdies. Sounds pretty easy. Okay. And part of that, you've got to start strong. You got to go low in the first round. You got to get up there and stay there. And oh, by the way, that gets us talking about first round leaders. As I mentioned earlier, we've got a first round leader contest on Twitter. Go to @golfbet and put in your first round leader. You got a chance to win a nice little prize on that. Let's get to our FRL picks. Amanda, I know you write about them at the Action Network all the time. Which one are you going with this week?
Yeah, this week I'm actually going to go with Victor Hovland. Now, excuse me, I know we've already talked about him a lot, but I just think he's going to get off to a really hot start. It's his first round at a first tournament round at this course since winning. It's his first tournament round since finishing at the CJ Cup, having putted and chipped really well. So I think this is going to be this is just going to be a lot of excitement and adrenaline for him. So I really like him this Thursday. I like him for a first round leader bet. And then he was 67 last year when he won. That was only 2 off of Russell Knox's lead. So I think I like him. I like him.
So one of the things I wrote in my preview this week, and this is based on advice from our good friend Brendan Steele, who was on my radio show last week, who said, look, if you're betting golf, not that he bets golf, but he would say, stick with the guys that you like, because eventually it's going to come through for you. Now, some of the players that I like, well, they've been playing really well. That should be a good thing, except it's not, because the prices dropped so much. And one of these players, the prime example, is Taylor Gooch. I cannot bring myself to bet Taylor Gooch outright, the guy who's never won on the PGA Tour. It's such a short number. He's right around 35, 40 to 1 in most books this week, but I can still play him for a first round leader bet. On his last 8 Thursdays, Taylor Gooch has shot 67, 64, 69, 69, 73, 68, 69, 64. The guy starts strong. He loves playing on Thursdays, loves getting off to a really good start. I think he's going to do it again this week. Justin, who you got?
I'm going with Danny Lee, a guy who finished tied for second place last week in Bermuda. I'm seeing him at BetMGM at 80 to 1 for a first round lead. He has a second place and a third place finish in this golf tournament just since 2015. Ranks 5th in birdies or better per round at Mayakoba all time, more than 5 per round. Oh, and by the way, opened with a 62 the last time he played this golf tournament. He's, without a doubt, my first round leader pick.
All right. I like that. Let's get to our ultimate DFS lineup. I think there's so many great possibilities in DFS this week. I think you can go in a lot of different directions. So we make a lineup every week on the Links and Locks podcast. Download, subscribe, listen, rate us anywhere you find your podcasts. And you can find our models and tools and optimizers on Fantasy Labs. Great stuff there as well. All right. You guys know the drill. 6 players on DraftKings. We'll go around the horn, picking 2 each. Amanda, you start.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a guy that I haven't mentioned him yet at all today, Russell Knox. So, like I said, he's just playing really good golf. He's coming off of a tied for 12th finish last week. He's striking the ball so well. He plays really well when there's wind. He plays well on short courses. He plays well on long courses. He's just playing really well right now. So, he's going to probably be low owned again this week. He's not expensive. Like, he's a really easy guy to just throw in your lineup. So, I like Russell Knox.
Jay Ray.
I'm going to go with Bryce Garnett. I know I mentioned him earlier. I think the value here in terms of course history is just too strong to pass up at just 6,500. Nobody has more rounds of 67 or lower on this golf course since 2015. Best score to par of anybody in this event cumulatively over the last 7 years. Bryce Garnett's my first fantasy pick.
A couple of years ago, I told Bryce I was going to start calling him Big Ticket. It's like Kevin Garnett. He seemed like it. I don't know if it's stuck, but he wins this week, and that will be a nice big ticket. So
you should find out.
Yes. So we often talk in DFS terms on the show. We just say, hey, DFS, let's pick a lineup. We don't really differentiate between GPPs and cash games. This guy's probably more of a cash game play. I think he's got a really high floor. Maverick McNeely, I've started calling him this generation's version of Charles Howell III. And I think a lot of people would say, ooh, that's a backhanded compliment. That's not a nice thing to say about something. No. I mean this in the nicest possible terms. This is a guy whose ceiling might not be as high as some other players, but he's got a really high floor, basically meaning he shows up every single week. So I don't think there's a chance he plays badly, tends to play some of his best golf on coastal, shorter golf courses. He was runner-up at Pebble Beach, tied for fourth place at Hilton Head this year. So I think he's a really nice play in cash games, but I don't mind him in GPPs as well. Amanda?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ricky Fowler. I'm kind of surprised no one's really mentioned him yet. This is an event Ricky likes. He plays it a lot. His game is really coming into form right now. He has 2 top 20 finishes at this event, including a runner-up. So there's still decent value in that 8,600 area. So I really like Ricky Fowler. He's just, I don't know. People are just kind of overlooking him. You have bigger names in the field this week, or guys that are hitting, or guys that are playing better. So no one's really paying attention to Ricky. So I think Ricky could actually be like a dark horse this week.
I like it. As the week has progressed, I've really started liking Ricky a lot here.
Yeah, another reason to like Ricky. Of all the players with at least 8 rounds all time at Mayakoba, second best scoring average, Ricky Fowler. My daily fantasy pick, number 5 on our roster. I'm going to go with Carlos Ortiz. Last 2 years of this tournament, he's finished tied for 2nd, tied for 8th. 46 birdies or better at El Camaleon. Only 3 players have more in that span over the last 2 years. Hasn't been playing his best golf recently, but I think this is another example of a course horse with some pretty good value. I see Ortiz at 7,600. That's a number I think that's too good to pass up.
Are you guys the type that put up the Christmas trees like right after Halloween?
I haven't put up a Christmas tree in so long, I'll be
December
honest.
1st.
Okay. Yeah. The reason I asked.
I'm going to try to put Clark Griswold to shame this year with my lights on my house.
I have Thanksgiving decorations out from 2 years ago.
We're going to have lights everywhere.
There's a reason I asked. The reason is because I feel like you guys are saving money for the upcoming holiday season right now, because you've barely spent anything in this DFS lineup. I can go from the top of the board. I can take anybody I want. But
Jason, you've heard the story of the Grinch, right? Where the townspeople have to be nice to him for his heart to grow a few sizes. That's what we're doing for you. We had to leave you more money to get the picks that you wanted.
I just think there's great value down the board this week. I like the Grinch analogy too, but that too.
But I mean, okay, can you please continue? We have a
bah humbug. Take an Abraham answer. Even with JT at the top of the board, even with enough money to take him, didn't love the way he sounded in his interview session on Wednesday afternoon. Just, I said he's a little rusty, tried to convince us that he's not just there on vacation. So I'm fading JT. Abraham answer. Look, I think he's as solid a play as you can find this week. Knox, Garnett, McNeely, Fowler, Ortiz, answer, ship it. All right. It's time to play the wheel. 6 names on our betting wheel this week. Big names. Are you going to buy them or are you going to sell them based on the price they're at this week? Our super producer, Barbara Alberts, is going to spin this wheel for us. Barbara, spin it, please.
All right. Our first choice is Justin Thomas. So, Amanda, why don't you go ahead and tell us your thoughts on Justin Thomas?
You know what? Yeah, I am going to actually buy Justin Thomas. I think he hasn't played as much golf as some of the other big names in the field kind of coming into this event. So I think he's kind of more refreshed. I think he's ready as a new season. I'm sure he has his new list of goals in his phone to go through. So I think this is kind of an easy week for him, right? Like he's the outright favorite. He should win. He's Justin Thomas. He's, the Prince of Ponte Vedra, current Prince of Ponte Vedra. So I think, I'll buy Justin Thomas. I mean, I'm not going to put my house on it, but.
Fair. I by the way,
don't advise anyone putting the house on anything.
Don't put your house on anybody. It's not, I mean, I bet golf as much as everybody out there. Don't bet your house.
It's not just an expression.
Unless you got a really good long shot, then absolutely put the house on it. But probably not.
All right, not buying a house off of bets. The next player we have, Brooks Koepka. Jason, why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts on Brooks Koepka?
I am so glad that you gave me Koepka because I listened to 2 minutes of his press conference earlier today, and Brooks sounded like a player who has missed 93 cuts in a row. He's telling us, I just can't find it on the range. Look, I'm hurt, but I'm not hurt. And, you guys know I don't like to practice, but I am kind of a range rat. So I've been practicing. The whole thing contradicted itself, first of all. Secondly, he just sounds down on himself. And that doesn't mean that, sometimes he gets this inner motivation from weird places, probably more weird places than a lot of other top players, where he's got to say something and have everyone agree with him. And then he says, "What are you talking about? I meant this," and use that as a chip on his shoulder. And I get it. There are different motivational tactics, I think, for Brooks than other players. But I'm just telling you, I listened for 2 minutes and he sounded completely down on himself. And so if he's down on himself, I'm down on him as well. And I'm going to sell Brooks this week.
All right. Last but not least, Justin, we have for you Tyrrell Hatton.
So I'm going to sell Tyrrell this week. His last 3 starts now are going to be in 3 different countries, kind of bouncing all over the place. He was second at the Dunhill Links, where he always plays so well, tied for 18th at the CJ Cup. I think you can find some better value lower on the board. This isn't as much about Tyrrell Hatton and my confidence in him, in that I think you can go down the board and find a lot of value with some lesser names and get a little bit more bang for your buck this week. So going to sell Tyrrell Hatton, but it's not as much a statement about him as how much I believe in some of the guys who are some of the lesser names on the board.
Like I said, probably take something in the 20 under area to win this week, probably 4 scores in the mid 60s. I feel like Hatton plays his best golf when scoring's a little tougher, when he can grind out on the pars.
Think about how well he played when he won at Bay Hill on those impossible conditions.
Exactly. Thank you, Barbara. Appreciate it. All right, guys, 1 minute left. Let's get some long shots. And we've seen some long shots pay off at Mayakoba in the past, so these could be very valuable. Who's your favorite long shot this week, Jay Ray?
No pun intended. It's Adam Long. Really tough year. He's missed the cut in well over half his starts around the world in 2021, but he has a terrific history on this golf course. He is the all-time leader in birdie average in this event among players with 8 or more rounds. T2, T3 in his 2 starts here. I'm going to go Adam Long. I think that's a pretty appropriate name for a guy who's my long shot this week.
His Twitter handle is literally a long shot.
There you go.
I mean, it's just written right there for you. Amanda.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Harold Varner III. I nappy factor.
Yeah.
Why not?
Shop around for Harold Varner III odds, by the way, because he is all over the board in different books this week. But I think there's a pretty good number at BetMGM. All right. Look, love Joel Damon this week, as Justin talked about on the pod. Really good record at Mayakoba. Adam Hadwin was my play last week. Got burned by that whole weather issue on Thursday morning. Looked like he was playing catch up the rest of the week, but I still like him. Keith Mitchell is just every single week undervalued the marketplace. He's much better than the odds makers realize. But the guy I'm going to go with, I hate to do this, but I'm going to go with a player that Amanda mentioned. I'm going to agree with Amanda. Brian Harmon, you mentioned him right at the top of the show. Again, another player who I don't know what the odds makers are watching. They usually don't get these things wrong, but Brian Harmon is much better than he's getting priced at on a weekly basis. He's 66 to 1 at BetMGM. You can find him in some other books at 80 to 1, maybe even 100 to 1, where he was earlier this week. His record is not great at Mayakoba, 8 starts, nothing better than a 26th place finish. But I've got to think his best finish at this event is coming this week. Another guy who I think is hungry and motivated. Thank you, everybody out there, for watching this edition of the Gimme presented by BetMGM. Remember, you can find all of our content on Golf Bet this week and every other week. For Amanda Rose and Justin Ray, I'm Jason Sobel. Good luck with all of your bets for the Worldwide Technology Championship at Mayakoba. Here's hoping you hit the green.